Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem B'chak Qadash. I want to give double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations of much love to the rest of you, sincere Akim, pushing the word in truth and sincerity. This is the Cleric Azar, coming at you with another lesson. I'm continuing in my lot to bring you my ongoing series from excerpts of Hollywood, This Factory of Perverseness. Another observation of predictive programming, how heart imitates life and vice versa. Just a reminder, the purpose of my videos is to show correlations. A correlation is an observation of a mutual relationship or connection between two or more things. I use movies to extract or extrapolate a narrative. I'm not glorifying the Hollywood culture or life. I have a wide knowledge of films, whether they be foreign or domestic. I just use them as an example to bring out those similarities and those correlations. To quote Cecil B. DeMille, the greatest source of material for motion pictures is the Bible. I call this lesson, The Coming Arrows Will Not Be Broken, Part 3. The image I have on display is from a film I watched in my past. Of course, being in its truth, I reflected on this particular movie. This movie was released on August 9th, 1989. The title of it is The Abyss, directed by James Cameron. And just to add, which I should have added in my previous two lessons prior to this, I'm going to bring out the definition of a broken arrow. Okay. This is from Wikipedia. A broken arrow refers to an accidental event that involves nuclear weapons, warheads, or components that does not create a risk of nuclear war. These include accidental or unexplained nuclear explosion, non-nuclear detonation or burning of a nuclear weapon, radioactive contamination, loss in transit of a nuclear asset with or without its carrying vehicle, jettisoning of a nuclear weapon or nuclear component, public hazard, actual or implied. All right, so all of a sudden, after reading this definition, I can already think of several instances in film and television and movies where these things happen. Okay, and I wouldn't be surprised if a false flag attack could actually include one of these. All right, but in this particular film, we have what is defined as a loss in transit of a nuclear asset with or without its carrying vehicle. So let me go into the synopsis or the plot of this film. If you haven't seen it already, spoiler alert. But this movie takes place in January 1994. And of course, being the fact this movie was released on 1989, this is a future event back then. But the U.S. Ohio-class submarine USS Montana has an encounter with an unidentified submerged object. If you don't know what a USO is, it is a chariot of the Lord, and these things do exist. They are the vehicles of the angels, which fly these crafts. Okay, they do exist. Okay, and basically, this chariot makes this submarine crash, and it sinks near the Cape Tro. Now, the Soviet ships moving in try to salvage the sub, and a hurricane moving over the area. The U.S. government sends a SEAL team to Deep Core, a privately owned experimental underwater drilling platform near the Cape Tro, to use as a base of operations. And basically, they have it's a good film. I mean, it's a classic film. Basically, the people, they have a encounter. But of course, like I just finished saying, there's no such thing as little green men. It's basically the angels of the Heavenly Father. Okay. Let me also bring out the special edition. If you haven't got a chance, you may want to check this out. But in the extended version, which I purchased a couple years back, the events in the film were played against a backdrop of conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union, which is now known as Russia, with the potential for all-out war. The sinking of the Montana additionally fuels the aggression. There is more conflict between, let's talk about the characters. The primary addition is the ending, when one of the characters is taken to an alien ship. They start by showing him images of war and aggression from news sources around the globe. The aliens then create massive mega tsunamis that threaten the world's coast, but to stop them short before they hit. The character asked why they spared the humans, and they showed him a message that the alien ship that was sent. Basically, you gotta check out the film for yourself. It's just a little confusing, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is why this particular extended version was cut down to the theatrical version. But basically, this particular warhead, there was warheads on this ship, on this submarine, and they were trying to be salvaged by the Soviets. So the SEAL team had to be brought in to get the warheads, and because it was in deep sea, you had to be depressurized when you had to be they want to say pressurized on the way down or depressurized on the way up, or vice versa, whatever it was. And I had the honor of meeting Michael Biehn, who was in this film, who's a co-star, and I've always talked to him about Terminator and Aliens and Avatar. I never got a chance to talk to him about The Abyss, but this is where he played an actual villain. He played one of the Navy SEALs that had salvaged one of these warheads. All right, but I've met a lot of actors under James Cameron over the years, and I've always talked about how this always pertains to the Bible, especially when you talk about those three things: nuclear war, Russia, and aliens, or even chariots, I should say. Okay, because that's what they are. There's no such thing as aliens. There are people, there are things that are alien to this planet, which are the angels. Okay, but they're not little green men. Okay. And that's a lesson for another time. And I've done previous lessons on my channel in regards to that. But it's very interesting how, when watching this, I was just thinking about how the deliverance of the Israelites, when they were brought out of Egypt, you had the Suez Canal was parted so that the Israelites could go through and they could escape the Egyptians, and the water came back onto the Egyptians, destroying them. Okay. And it also made me think about the deliverance of Noah and his three sons, along with their wives, when water was used in the flood to kill off the remaining population of the earth, and so forth. But there was a deliverance nonetheless. Okay. But this next time, the deliverance is only going to be the small remnant of the house of Israel, specifically the house of David, the elect, or the 1/3 of Israel that's going to be saved. Okay, let me go to 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 7 to bring that out about this coming judgment. 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 7 reads, "But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men." Okay, that fire is going to be the nuclear missiles when they go off during World War III. Okay, in the Battle of Armageddon. I'm going to skip down to 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10. "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat." All right, the fervent heat is going to be the thermonuclear missiles as they go off. "The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up." Burnt up by what? The nuclear missiles. Okay, and as well as the chariots of the Lord that will be arriving at the same time when these missiles are shot off. Okay. And keep in mind, these are these missiles, or these arrows, as the scriptures describe them as. And for some parts of the Bible, the arrows are described as regular arrows. In some parts of the Bible, these arrows are actually described as nuclear missiles, if your spirit can perceive it, or receive it, I should say. All right. And I brought out this scripture before. I'm going to bring it out again. Psalm chapter 7. I'm going to start at verse 12. And bring out, the point really is in verse 13. Psalm chapter 7, verse 12, it reads, "If he turn not, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutors." Okay? All right. And these arrows are talking about the nuclear missiles. Okay? Instruments of death. All right. And Most High is going to be the ones going to be shooting these puppies off and making sure that they land in the destinations that they are destined to be in. Okay, hence the title of this lesson. All right, there's not going to be any broken arrows. These arrows are going to meet their destination. Okay, Psalm chapter 64 verse 7 reads, "But the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow, suddenly shall they be wounded." Okay, it's not going to be wounded, it's going to be death. Right, 2/3 of Israel, along with the heathen nations, and specifically the top heathen nation being Esau, Edom. Okay. All right, but I'm going to end it on this, because I always like to end my videos on a good note with some type of silver lining. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. So in other words, there is a happy ending. Just like I was saying previously about the deliverance of Israel with the deliverance of out of Egypt, as well as Noah and his three sons. being delivered with the flood. All right, so just on those two instances, water is included. This particular instance, fire is going to be included, which is the thermonuclear destruction. Jeremiah chapter 16 talks about the Most High restoring Israel. We're going to start at Jeremiah 16, verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Verse 15, but the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. Okay. All right, so I just want to close out with that, and I just wanted to share that as well. If you haven't got a chance, this movie's not on Blu-ray, but you can find it online. I'm not sure if you can find the extended version, but it goes a little bit more into the Soviets, which we now know as the Russians, and it goes into that particular aggression that's going on, and it's about to go on now in the real world. Okay, and so I hope, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, who gives me the strength and the spirit to continue to strive and endure in these last days. Shalom to the hopeful elect, and on to the next video.